Good afternoon, this is Nicholas from Gandora Gaming, and it looks like my friend was right. This is going to be a Yubel support. You don't know, we had a set revealed a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and it was called Phantom Nightmare. I speculated on the decks that could get support, and I didn't mention Yubel, but some of my subscribers and a friend of mine said it's definitely going to be Yubel support, and what do you hold? We got Yubel support revealed. Not to mention, it's also the cover art of the Phantom of Nightmare set. So let's go over these cards to see if they're any good. It looks like now you have the reason to run Super Polymerization in your Yubel deck. So it looks like you're going to use Super Poly in this deck, and you're going to Super Poly your opponent's field away. Let's see how this works. So I think Super Poly is in the anime. I think Yubel used it. So I guess this support revolves around fusions and Super Poly. So let's reread it. We have Spirit of Yubel, level 10 Dark Fiend effect monster. 0 attack, 0 defense. You only use the first and second effect of this card once per turn. When your opponent's monster declares an attack, you can special summon this card from your hand. This card is special summon. Take one spell or trap from your deck that mentions Yubel and either add it to your hand or set it. That's actually really, really solid. This guy's just like, hey, you declared an attack, special summon this guy and then add a spell and trap from your deck to hand. I wish this guy was like a battle fader and like he negated the attack or like ended the battle phase, but who knows? Maybe it keeps going. Second effect is you can't be this card can't be destroyed by battle. Also, you take no battle damage from battles involving this card. So I guess you special summon this guy in defense position. He can't be destroyed by battle. So I guess he is a battle fader in his own right. And then he just sits there and protects you unless they have piercing damage. Really, really good. Third effect, if this card is destroyed, you can special summon one of your Yubels that is banished or in your hand, deck, or graveyard. So this card leaves the field by destruction. This card just says, hey, special summon a Yubel. It includes battle. So you somehow negate this guy and kill it by battle. It still summons Yubel from deck because it says that this card is destroyed by any means, which is really, really solid. So far, really good support card. It's definitely going to be a 3 of in the deck. I wish it wasn't a battle phase mechanic, but what can you do with Yubel support? Next, we have Geist Grinder Golem. That's already scary because you don't know Grinder Golem is a banned card that was part of a lot of FTKs with Firewall Dragon. If this thing has anything to do with the original Grinder Golem, then we have some issues. So this is 3,000 attack, 300 defense. You can only special summon one Grinder, Gearus Grinder Golem once per turn. You reveal one Yubel monster in your hand. Special summon this card from your hand to your opponent's field. And then special summon the revealed monsters to your field. Once a turn, during damage calculation, if this card battles a Yubel monster, your opponent gains 3,000 life points. And then if you special summon one Yubel while this card's in your graveyard, special summon this card to your opponent's field. So it's kind of like the original Grinder Golem. You don't know Grinder Golem was a monster you summoned to your opponent's field and you used summon tokens onto your field. But instead of summoning tokens, this guy like says, hey, you special summon this guy to your opponent's field. And then I don't know why you're summoning it to your opponent's field. It's really weird. It says reveal one Yubel monster from your hand. Special summon this card from your hand to your opponent's field. Then special summon the revealed monster. That's why. You give this card to your opponent. You special summon Yubel from deck. That's really good. I hate that it's a dark level 8 Fiend monster because that is easy synchro target, easy XYZ target, and it's 3,000 attack. So that's not the greatest. I wish this guy can't be like had like a restriction where he can't be used as like a Link XYZ synchro, but your opponent can use this thing for whatever they want, which is kind of scary because any level 2 tuner makes this thing a Baron. So I don't know how much I like this card. It does summon a Yubel from hand, which is cool, but talking about banned cards, we have a new version of Samsara Lotus, Samsara Regenerating Lotus. So I guess we're getting a whole bunch of retrains for banned cards. This is the retrain for Grinder Golem, and this is the retrain for Samsara Lotus. If you don't know, Samsara Lotus was banned because in the OCG, this card was part of a plant FTK. I think it had other link burn shenanigans, just like Grinder Golem. Actually, Grinder Golem helped you link spam, so you co-linked your board away. But this guy This guy helped you FTK with a plant monster. But I guess they're retraining it as a level 1 Dark Fiend monster. So I like that they're using banned cards as retrains. That's pretty cool. This card says it has 0 attack, 0 defense, Dark level 1 Fiend. You can only use the first, second, and third effect of this card once per turn. Tribute this card, spell summon one Yubel monster from your deck. So it's a lone fire, 4 Yubels, which is funny. Kind of wish it was a plant because that means you can play 3 lone fire, 3 of this guy, and you can just summon a Yubel from deck. During your opponent's turn, when your monster effect is activated while you control a Yubel monster, quick effect, tribute this card. That effect becomes destroy one Yubel monster on the field. The reason why that matters is because I think the Yubels float when they're destroyed, and they summon like a bigger Yubel from deck or hand. So this has huge potential, possibly. And then finally, its third and final effect. During the end phase, if you control a Yubel and this card's in your graveyard, you can take this card and either add it to your hand or special summon it. So I really do like this card for the simple fact it helps you trigger off Yubels. Not to mention it does use summon Yubels from your deck. But I would really like if this card was a plant, because it looks like a plant. Everything about this card is a plant besides it being a fiend for some reason. If this card was a plant, then you can actually play like Predaplants in this deck. And the reason why I'd say that is because Predaplants can search Super Poly. So if this deck's revolving around Super Poly, which it looks like that's what this card says, it would have been cool if this card would have been a lone fire target, and then you just you plant climb into your big fusion monster. That would have been really, really cool. Yubel Predaplant. Alright, so now it's time to get to what we've all been waiting for, the Yubel Fusion Monster. I have no idea how to pronounce this card. It's Yubel das Wig Libre Wacha. No idea how to pronounce that, but it's a big, cool fusion monster. Level 12 Dark Fiend effect monster. Materials are 1 Yubel monster plus any effect monster on the field. Basically saying, oh, it's 1 plus any effect monster, meaning I believe you can just super poly an entire opponent's field away using this monster, which is kind of insane. I guess you want to have Yubel on field, so any Yubel will do. And then any plus effect monsters, you just super poly them away, summon out this Yubel. That's kind of insane. That's actually insanely good. And that means super poly ain't going anywhere. And if this archetype that it just revealed revolves around Super Poly, they can't hit Super Poly. At least they can't ban anything. There's no way they're going to ban Super Poly because that literally kills this deck. This whole deck revolves around Super Poly and it's not even out yet. So don't think Super Poly is going to be on the ban list. If this card is fusion summon, inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each fusion material used for fusion summon. So your opponent has 5 to 6 monsters on the field. You fusion their whole field away, and then bam, you inflict 500 for each one of those. So potentially you can burn them for 3,000 life points, which is pretty insane. Can't be destroyed by all card effects. Also, you take no battle damage involving this card. Really good there because it's 0 attack, 0 defense. If this card battles an opponent's monster at the end of the damage step, inflict damage equal to the monster's attack. If you do, banish it. So I really do like that effect. It's trying to burn your opponent. I think all the Yubels have that same mechanic where they attack your opponent's monsters, they take burn damage, and then they would like summon out the bigger ones. This guy is absolutely insane. I wish he was a negate. Like, this is definitely not going to be a competitive deck, but I do love that these cards are just really, really good. This card literally reads, if you have Yubel on the field or a monster that treats itself as Yubel, you can literally just super poly your entire field away. That's pretty insane. That is actually kind of nutty. So even though this card's a little lackluster, the fact that it's super poly the entire field and then burn your opponent for however much was super polyed is still pretty good. Let's go over to spells now. We have Nightmare Pain. This is a continuous spell. You can only use the first effect of this card once per turn. During the main phase, destroy 1 dark monster in your hand or face of the field, and if you do, add one of Yubel or a card that mentions it from your deck to your hand, except Nightmare Pain. The reason why that matters is I think if the Yubels are destroyed, they get effects. So again, this card just says destroy 1 dark monster from your hand or face of field. They want to be destroyed, so I think this triggers them, which is pretty good. And then while you control a Yubel monster, all opponent's monsters must attack them if available. That's really good because if you know, the Super Poly guy says your opponent takes burn damage. So the idea is that if this continuous spells on the field, they have to keep it declaring attacks on this Yubel guy, which will kill them, which is pretty good because you won't take the damage, your opponent will. And then if your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken from battles involving a Yubel monster instead. So even if they negate this card, let's say they negate the Yubel Watcher, doesn't matter, they'll take the damage because this card's also applying that effect, which is really, really good. Now we have the next continuous spell, Mature Chronicle. This is a retrain on the Chronicle cards. This card is played in Witchcraft because you can banish 5 spells from your deck, and then using the Witchcrafter cards, you can bring them back. So let's see if this card's any good. You can only use the second effect of this card once per turn. Each time Yubel monster or a monster that mentions Yubel is special summoned, place 1 Chronicle counter on this card. You can remove up to 5 Chronicle counters from this card if you control to activate one of these effects. 1. Special summon Yubel from your graveyard. 2. Add one of your banished cards to your hand. 3. Banish 1 card from your deck. 4. Destroy 1 card on the field. 5. Add 1 Super Poly from your deck to hand. Alright, so that's I hate that it requires you to summon up to 5 Yubel monsters in order to get that Super Poly search. Again, I think this would have been a lot easier if the Samsara Lotus monster would have been a plant, because then you could have just played this in Predaplant, which can already search Super Poly. But hey, what can you do? Oh, it's still a good card. I don't know if the Mature Chronicle is, but the Yubel Samsara Lotus is. The fusion is. This Nightmare Pain definitely is. And I think this card, Mature Chronicle, is okay. I don't know how often you're going to get those 5 counters on this thing. Not to mention, if you're trying to get the 5 counters, your opponent can just interrupt you at the 5th counter. And then all your work to get to 5 counters is out the window, which kind of sucks. And then finally, you have Internal Favorite, Continuous Trap card. Once per turn, you can activate one of these effects, but you can only use each of the following effects once per turn. Special summon one of your Yubel monsters that is banished or in your graveyard. Neither player can activate the cards or effects when this card is special summoned. So basically it says, hey, special summon a Yubel from your banished or grave. Your opponent can't respond to it, which is good. And then if you control Yubel, discard 1 card, send 1 face-up card in your spell and trap zone to a graveyard. Fusion summon 1 Yubel fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters from either field as material, including Yubel. Well, call me damn. This card is a continuous trap that is literally Super Poly. Huh. So not only do we have Super Poly, but we have the trap card that's a Super Poly. That's actually pretty good. I'm going to reread these cards real quick. Is there a way to search the spells? If so, this is actually really good. I think this one searches a spell. So Spirit of Yubel searches spells and traps, but it's during the battle phase. So if there's a way to search this counter trap and get a Yubel on field, then right there you have the combo set. You can Super Poly your opponent's field away. And they can't respond to it because control Yubel, discard this card, someone using, oh wait, no, they can respond to it. My bad. Actually, no. They can't, because this card says special summon a Yubel monster from your hand or banish. Neither player can activate cards or effects when it is special summoned. So, can you activate both effects? Wait. Let me read this here. Once per turn, you can activate one of these effects, but you can only use each of the following effects once per turn. So I wonder, can you activate the effect of special summon a Yubel, and then on the summon a Yubel, activate the fusion effect, discard a card, and then send a face-up solo trap you control to grave, fusion your opponent's field away, and they can't respond. I don't know, but if that is how it works, that's actually kind of insane. And now this deck has potential. I don't know if it'll be competitive, but if some deck can figure out how to mix these Yubel cards in, possibly. The only issue is the Yubels are bricks, so good luck with that. Maybe there's a way to sort them in. But I would definitely like to experiment with these cards. These cards are not bad overall, but they're definitely a little gimmicky. I think this deck will be a lot more consistent, again, if this Lotus was a plant. But other than that, really, really good support. We'll just see how it goes. Can't wait for DB Grinder or somebody to make a whole video on this deck Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed. Don't think it's stupid. I'll see you all next one. Bye bye.